Hi, my name's David Boito, and I'm going to be on the Coriolis Effect, talking about my book, Valley Fliers.
Welcome to the Coriolis Effect with Cory Oliver.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver. Thanks for watching the Coriolis Effect. Please hit the subscribe button below, and we hope you like this episode. Hi guys, we wanted to announce that like many podcasters, we just started a Patreon account. Visit our page at patreon.com/the Coriolis Effect. We have 5 different levels of membership and offer early access to episodes, behind the scenes footage, bonus episodes, shoutouts, and much more, including personal phone calls, questions and answer sessions, and live chats with Bob and me. That's patreon.com/the Coriolis Effect. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Cory. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Who's coming in today?
We have a author who wrote a screenplay and then a book called Valley Fliers, and his name is David Boito.
Okay.
Yeah, he's written a novel, and it's really, really good. And I had the
Where'd you meet him?
Well, I have not met him just quite yet, but we both know the same person, Mario, who sells us our Italian goods at the farmer's market.
All right.
Yeah. And so he literally a week ago gave me this book. He's like, "Oh, Cory, would you want to read this and maybe have him on your show?" And I was sick last week and I had time. I read it. It's phenomenal. And this writer, he's a great writer. He's been around a long time and he's written an episode of Head of the Class. And he's great. So I'm excited. He agreed to come on today.
That's
so
very cool.
Isn't that wonderful?
All right, what else is going on?
Nothing really. I've just kind of recuperating.
Are you getting over your sickness?
Yeah, I had a cold.
And just for the people know that we record 2 or 3 of these a day, so it's not like Cory's been sick for the last 3 weeks.
Right.
But and you got that article video I sent you?
Which one?
The one I didn't read before I sent it. So Cory's been sick with a sore throat for 5-6 days, and not as a joke, but as gotta be nice. This is what I typed in: sore throat remedy, and the first thing that came up was this article, and I thought, okay, it's a sore throat remedy, so I thought it was gonna be like how to make chicken soup with garlic so I sent it to her. 5 minutes later, I get back this text of like praying hands and oh my God, and the amens, and I'm like, I better read this thing.
I was like, wow, Bob's really crossing over, isn't he?
So I read the article, and it was this video of this nice woman.
It's a 700 Club.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. So this woman had like this piercing sore throat with shards of glass that she felt like every time she drank, and so I'm waiting for the remedy, and it's like, and then I was watching the 700 Club, and they prayed about it, and I went in the kitchen and I drank, and it was cured. And I'm like, oh no. That was like the worst possible thing I could have said.
Bob, I'm so proud of you. But you know what? Don't laugh, because moments after I watched that and I received it, I was like starting to get better.
Oh, sure.
It's not a joke.
I don't think you're joking. I don't think it's accurate.
I can't thank you enough
Uh-huh.
for just all that you do.
Next time I read it before I send it.
No, it was pretty funny though. I was like, he's either being really funny or he's not. He doesn't know what he sent.
I didn't know what I sent.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you anyway. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it.
No
and I'm
problem.
feeling much better. And it was just a cold. Everyone freaks out now if you stand in line and you're sneezing or you're coughing. And it's like, we've been around for 50 years, and colds still do exist. Not everything is the variants of a variant. Not minimalizing that.
Sometimes people just get sick and get over it.
Sometimes people just get sick, and it can be the greatest thing because you can build up immunity. When I was a kid, you saw those videos of little antigens that see a foreign object in your blood, and they create more antigens, and they create more antigens, and it's like shields.
Like a school video?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And that's what happens. And so it's very important to take care of yourself, but it's also if you get sick, your body is creating more antigens and antibodies to fight foreign.
There's a reason why we all get sick when we go to Mexico and drink the water. We're not used to what's in that water.
Right. So I'm good. It's all good. And thank you for that. Trying to think of what's going on in the world today, but I think we've
covered everything.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could talk about the Joe Rogan.
Oh, God. You know what? Here's my issue. Spotify's never going to cancel him. And
Nor should they not.
No, and they should. They should not cancel him. But I think, was it Neil Young and Joni Mitchell? honestly, they are just looking for publicity for themselves. Because here's how they did it. They did it in an open letter to Spotify. If you were serious, you would write Spotify by yourself and say, take mine off or take his off. You wouldn't go to the media and try to do that. I don't remember the last time somebody bought a Joni Mitchell album or listened to anything on Spotify. And what's his name? And Neil Young. He was great in a while, but his stuff's getting a little dated.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
And you know a lot about this. I know you do because you worked in the industry as well. But there used to be a day when if you did a Pepsi commercial, you would not say anything about Coke negatively at all, ever.
We weren't allowed to.
You weren't allowed to. And it was bad form if you did, because it's like you have your own product, stay in your lane.
You can say our product's better. You can't say their product sucks.
But why are we doing this to each other? You know, I mean, Joe is just trying to give information, and there's this.
Because Neil Young and Joni Mitchell are in obscurity. They were good 40 years ago. They're in obscurity. They need a way to get out there, and they need a way to be relevant, and they're not relevant anymore.
Well, being relevant at the cost of somebody else is not necessarily a good thing.
No, I agree. And you know what Joe Rogan did? He simply put out a real quick video of him on his phone saying, look, I thank you, Spotify, for standing by me. I really appreciate what you've done. He said, I'm sorry if I offended you, but all I'm doing is opening up conversations.
Yeah.
And if you're going to cancel him because he's opening up conversations, what kind of world do we live in where you can't even talk about it? And it's the same thing that we talked about before with Whoopi Goldberg when she made that comment. That comment caused so much, and you said she got
2 weeks suspension.
2 weeks suspension. You can yell at me all you want. Technically, she's right in that Judaism is not a race; it is a religion. And anybody who wants to scream at me, just remember one thing: you can join Judaism. You can't join a race. You're either one race or you're another race. What she said was insensitive, and she shouldn't have said it that way. And then her apology just got worse and worse and worse. But it is the American people saying, you can't even say that. Even though it's technically true, we're not even going to allow you to say it. The whole thing about men can now have babies, or men can't have babies. The girl, J.R. Tolkien, is that the right? No, that's the Lord of the Ring. Who wrote Harry? Who wrote? Come on. The which one? Harry Potter.
Oh,
forget the lady's name, but
yes.
She came out and said, well, you know, men can't have babies.
Yeah.
And they tried to cancel her. There was the head of the Midwives Association in England. The head nurse of all those midwives, so that whatever association, said, well, we know men can't have babies. They made her resign over that statement. That's a biological fact. Men can't have babies, except in that movie Junior with Danny DeVito.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito,
yeah. But we're at the point now where you can't even say a fact, or we're going to try to cancel you because we don't want to hear it. That's my.
I just want a show out there, and I continue to say this over and over, and I sound like a broken record, that brings people together and not so much hate and division. That's what I would like. That's my perfect world, my utopia. But hopefully we can make a difference in this show that we do, and, you know, continue to be inclusive in life and not exclusive. I've always taught my daughter to be inclusive. You know, people have different cliques in life, and that's okay. That's all right. But you never know who's going to be your friend and who, you know, you just never know. And so as you get older and your life gets smaller, you know, the world gets smaller and people know everybody, and it's, you know, so it's just important to, you know, be kind and let's love one another right now. The world's going through a lot as a whole. So let's try to stay united and together, because
all right,
it's the way to be, right, Bob?
We'll see you in a few minutes with David and Boito.
This episode is sponsored by the Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box. Do you have essential oils sitting unused on your shelf? Have essential oils always confused you? The Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box will help you gain confidence and clarity in using essential oils to help make your home essentially toxin-free. You will receive a recipe box with 4 pure essential oils, 6 recipe cards, and extras. You will learn how to use your essential oils while making the recipes created by certified aromatherapists. You will also save money and detoxify your life. Buy from a company that changes the world. since Simply Earth gives 13% of all profits to end human trafficking around the world. Simply Earth's essential oils are affordable, 100% pure, and come from the best farms all over the world. They are GC-MS tested by a third party to ensure purity. And all of Simply Earth essential oils recipes are tried and tested by an in-house certified aromatherapists. Using essential oils to support your wellness doesn't have to be overwhelming. Have fun making your home essentially toxin-free with Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box. Plus, get a free 80 milligram essential oil diffuser when you subscribe at simplyearth.com/Cory. That's simplyEarth.com/Cory. Subscribe to Simply Earth today and make your home essentially toxin-free.
This episode is sponsored by Brizo Healthy Fruit Tonic. With Manuka honey and apple cider vinegar, less than 4 grams of sugar, and under 35 calories per can, each of Brizo's 4 flavors not only taste great, they are an excellent source of vitamin C. Brizo boosts your immune system and is great for your post-workout recovery. Brizo, available on Amazon and at brizo.com.
Yes, I would go stand there all day with her, like one day, and just see. It's like, what, $250 to rent a,
Something like that.
Yeah.
Let's start the show.
I knew you were going to do that, Bob. Ha ha ha. Let's start the show. Welcome to an author, David Boito. He wrote a book called Fliers. And before we get into any of this, I'm going to tell the story of how I got a copy of this book. Every single solitary Sunday, I go to the farmer's market. And I go every week and see a man named Mario who has a little cubicle of Italian products. And he has one of the best olive oils I've ever had in my life. Is it not?
Absolutely.
And every time I go there, he is constantly connecting people, and he's one of the sweetest men I've ever met. Mario, props to you. You are kind and sweet, and I just love you. And so last week I went to the farmer's market, and he had this book sitting on his little shelf there. And he said, Cory, in his beautiful accent.
Yeah.
And he just says, I've got this friend, and he wrote this amazing book, and I just wonder if you want to read it, and maybe, he'll come on your show. Well, I was sick a week ago, and I'm fine now. Everything's fine.
That's all good.
And so it's kind of interesting because I had gotten it right before I fell sick. I just had a cold. And so I had time to sit and read this book, which is a fabulous novel.
Thank you.
And I know it's your first novel, and so we're going to talk all about that. I'm sorry, Bob.
Pull his mic in.
Oh, pull his mic in. Okay.
Okay.
And I want to talk about the story, and the characters are so good. And I have I'll just share it with you. But this isn't the first thing that you've written, though. You have also written, which was one of the things that I heard on one of your podcasts. You wrote an episode of Head of the Class.
I did.
Really?
Yeah, I knew that was going to get you, Bob.
I love that show. That was the Howard Hessman one, right?
Correct.
It was a great
In fact,
show.
it was the very last episode that Howard did. We wrote.
They went on. I didn't know they did it without him.
Yeah, it actually went on with Billy Connolly, the Scottish comedian.
There were a lot of stars that came out of that.
Yes, and that is a good get. I mean, it's very difficult to get any job in this industry, let alone an actual writing job. And for even one episode, and a lot of times people think that the same writers are on every single episode, but it's not the case. And so we're going to go through that little process too. But before we go through anything, Mr. Boito, we have a word of the day.
Yes.
And since you're a writer,
yes,
you get to try to figure it out.
Okay, I love words.
This word, I'll play it for you. Oops, why doesn't it play? Your device volume is off. No, it's not. Hold on.
Don't forget to press record.
This is all going to be cut out anyway, so don't worry about it. All right, here we go. Ready, and...
No, don't worry. It's an hour show, Bob. Don't worry.
Fragophobia.
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 Fragor phobia. Fragophobia.
Wow, that's one I hadn't heard before. Should I take a guess at what that means? Fragophobia. Well, I think of like a bomb fragments or something. Okay.
Fear of books. Fear of writing. Fear of flying.
Close.
Fear of airplanes.
It always relates to the guest.
Oh.
Close.
Okay.
Fear of Drones. No, what is it?
Frag or
Fear of flying, because nobody's really afraid of flying. They're afraid of
Crashing.
fear of crashing.
Fear of crashing. Well, that's way to bring the room
Fragophobia.
up
Wow.
today here, Bob.
Fragor is Latin for crash or destruction or
Oh my
fragor.
goodness.
Great. Wow. Okay,
Well-
I've been educated.
This book is not something, and I'm just being transparent, I would have gone and got picked up because I don't have a fear of flying, but
You have a fear of crashing.
But, airplanes, it is such a good story. And I know you may have also a completed screenplay, right? I think it should be a series.
Yeah.
I literally think it should be a series on
It
Netflix.
has potential for that.
It has potential because you really did develop the characters.
Yeah.
You did. And for me, and I wrote my notes because it felt a little bit like, and I'm going to totally date myself here,
Because
because everyone will date me. It's like a little bit like Top Gun and Breakfast Club.
Oh, wow.
That's how I felt when I was reading this. It's so beautiful.
I've heard the Top Gun comparison, but the Breakfast Club, I kind of see it now that you mention it.
little
I
bit,
hadn't
right?
Really, yeah.
I know.
That's funny.
It's such a great read and it's exciting and it's just so. Tell me, I know you went to UCLA.
I did.
You really are a prolific writer, like just beautifully written. Honestly,
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you have a resume and that speaks of itself.
Thank you.
But tell our audience what inspired you to write this book called Valley Fliers.
Well, as I was telling Bob before the show, I live not far from Balboa Park in San Fernando Valley. And there is a miniature airfield. It's a big place. I mean, it's when I say miniature, it's not like a tabletop, but it's it's the size of maybe a couple football fields, maybe a little bigger than maybe 3 football fields. There's always, pretty much day in day out, remote control pilots that are there flying their planes, and there's all different kinds of planes, as we were discussing. There's jets, there's World War II aircraft, there's some helicopters, Vietnam era helicopters, and they're all really they're like almost works of art, these different kinds of aircraft that these people fly. And I just always thought that I've never really seen this setting before, and I just thought it should be done as a story. I'm always looking for stories. And so that's kind of the genesis of the idea.
So you created this book, and it's this group of teenagers, and Jay's quite the character, by the by. I really, really identified with him on so many different levels. I can't go into, but I do love him. Yes.
That's great.
Where do you draw on? I'm a writer too. I've written screenplays and written things, and it's I'm not the kind of writer you are. I think you are 10,000 times better. I have to write something that is very, very close and very either painful
Right.
or right. But I always admire when someone can be given a story like you and you write. And so what created you, what motivated you to think of these characters?
Well, I mean, I've always been a big fan of Spielberg movies back in the day, the 90s Spielberg blockbuster movies, Goonies, movies like that, Stand By Me, movies about kids that save the day.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen any of those recently.
E.T. I mean, there was like a lot of good
Right.
ones that, yes.
And so I wanted to do a movie sort of in that vein, and where the kids, people are sort of naysaying what this kid Jay is saying, and they think he's kind of, delusional. And it turns out that he's right, and he has to rally his friends to join him. And so, those are the kinds of stories that I like. And so that's what motivated me to.
How do you develop a character, though, like that? I mean, that's not... Is there a little bit of Jay in David Boito? Because I know there's a little bit of Jay. Like, I feel like I can identify with Jay.
Perhaps.
And you'd think I'd identify with Cassie, but no, Jay is the one.
Right. Yeah, there's a little bit of Jay in me. I mean, I am always impressed by people that are sort of come up with a viewpoint that's different than everybody else holds. You know, the crazy person in the room is usually the person that doesn't agree, regardless of the reality of what the other people are seeing. For instance, like if there's an elephant in the room, you all see it and I don't, well, I'm the crazy guy. Vice versa. If there's an elephant in the room, I see it and you don't, then I'm the crazy guy.
Yeah.
So, the idea of a person who sees something, people aren't seeing it, and they label him as a conspiracy theorist or whatever. Another great movie, the one with Mel Gibson.
Yes.
I think it was called Conspiracy
Theory. Julia Roberts?
Yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Yes, very
There's
good.
a little bit of that.
But there's a lot in this book, too, about, some of the components, if you will, that are being sprayed over crops and things of that nature, which, you know, we all do know. We're not blind, and to those that are, I apologize. It's real.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a conspiracy. So I loved that you touched on a lot of things in this book, and one of the things was the drones. I have literally been, this is true, driving down our home on the 101, and I'm on in the center lane, and literally a drone has come and almost landed on my car, but is like droning with me, and I'm thinking to myself, aren't there any kind of FAA rules, which you talk about in this book? Wouldn't that be a no-fly zone? Isn't that unsafe for?
That is not per se. That sounds like something illegal for sure. Almost like drone stalking or something, and that shouldn't be legal. But technically, it's sort of a Wild West. There's more and more of these things taken to the sky, and that was something I wanted to bring to people's attention, was to really start just being aware of the new environment, because there's going to be more and more of these things in the skies. Amazon's going to start delivering your packages with them.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for that to happen. I was telling a friend, when that happens, I'm ordering one thing every day just to watch that drone come in and drop it off. That would be so cool.
Yeah. That's in the works. And so you're going to see more and more of them. And I just thought people should be aware of some of the issues, privacy issues that, this brings up. So yes, there are no-fly zones, like if there's a football stadium and a football game. Sorry, no problem. There's no-fly zones. If there's a football stadium, if there's an airport, that's definitely illegal. But there's, very gray areas over some of the other stuff, like what you're referring to.
So I wanted to know what inspired you and where you got your love of aviation. Because you seem to be very fascinated with it, and this book really does reveal your heart.
Yeah. As a kid, we lived not too far from an airport, and I would go and watch the planes come in and land and take off, and it was just always sort of mesmerizing for me. And still is. I don't live near the airport anymore, but I'm always intrigued by various kinds of planes. I go to some air shows. I don't know if you've been to Camarillo.
Camarillo, yes, I have.
Great air show.
It's a great airport.
Yeah.
We've got a restaurant there.
There's a good restaurant there.
It's wonderful. It's very good food. Yes.
Yeah.
I actually had the opportunity of flying in a Bonanza for a show that I did.
Oh, wow.
Beverly Hills Pond.
Okay.
And so I recently posted a picture of that, and I was just getting people's kind of input because I wanted to explore getting my pilot's license.
Oh, cool.
And it is a crazy feeling being in a tiny little Cessna like that.
Yeah.
And there's two what are they
tillers
called?
or
yes.
Yeah.
And so both people can fly the plane, obviously. And so at one point I got a chance to fly the plane for a half a second. And I literally had an out-of-body experience going, wait, what am I doing?
Right.
Right? Because if your car breaks down, you pull over to the side of the road.
Correct.
Right.
A little different.
A little different. But what I loved about this is It has an old school feeling, a real, in such a great way, in such a beautiful way.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's just such an incredible novel. And I understand that, I think, if I remember correctly, you completed the screenplay first?
I did, actually, yeah.
Kind of reverse engineered the book, right?
A little bit, yeah, which is sort of different. Usually the book inspires the screenplay. In this case, I had written, as I told you, I like those types of movies. And I thought, as a screenwriter, I thought, wow, this would be a great movie. And so I did write the screenplay and sent it around town a bit, and got some pretty good feedback on it, but nobody really wanted to jump into it and produce it. So I thought, I really just I love this story. I just want to expose it to an audience. And so I thought, I'll just write it as a book. And so
here it is.
There it
Valley
is.
Fliers. How have you seen, just jumping into another arena, the industry change with regards to, you said, I kind of shopped it around town, and I'm thinking, I've been here for a long time, and shopping things around town even 3 years ago is different than it is now.
Very.
Right?
Very.
Like, we used to go have meetings at Paramount and Sony and Fox and Warner Brothers and, all the various, lots, if you will, studios. And it's just so different now. How have you experienced that?
Well, basically, there's a lot more streamers now, and that was sort of the reaction was, well, this could be sort of a mid-budget streamer movie because, only the big blockbusters are going to the movie theaters now, the Tom Cruise movies or the Christopher Nolan movies, or the Marvel movies, obviously. For a movie like this, doesn't seem to be as much interest in producing it for those outlets as there is for Netflix or
yeah, I'm really sad to hear, Bob, that they got rid of that 2-seater like a Lemley right down the road that would play something like this.
Right.
It's just so sad that it's gone. And
What's
I
it going to
love
turn
those
into?
kind of movies. I don't know.
Probably be a store. That was the one off of Aqua, right?
No, right down the street from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, I don't know why, but I just finished this show called The Imposters. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
And it had the same kind of, a little bit of the same kind of feel. And so now we have Netflix and Hulu and Apple and all these, streaming platforms, like you said. And there's no real, it's almost like it's all word of mouth. I'll call my friends and I'm like, what are you watching? And they'll give me a list, and that's how I'll watch it. It's not even a commercial or a billboard. It's crazy.
It is, because there's so many options.
There's so many options. But I was reading this book, I'm like, I saw myself in it. Like, honestly, like, this is a project I, would love to even be in because it was so well written, and you could do a series. I mean,
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because there's more interest now in doing television than there is in doing feature films. So that's actually an interesting angle that I hadn't really explored.
I would put a pitch deck together. I was like, who do I know? Who young, because the characters are so well developed.
It totally could be a series. Yeah.
And just save the ending.
Yeah.
You do it a 6 or 8 episode series on Netflix?
Yes.
Or even Hulu?
Or 10, yeah.
10's tough anymore.
Yeah.
I've seen it mostly because you could do 10, but 10 you're looking at 30, 35 minutes. I would do 6. How many pages is the book?
This is like 210 pages.
Yeah.
So you do, it's between 6 and 8 or 45 minutes each.
Yeah.
The good thing now is, and by the way, I've been watching a lot of, especially on Apple, those time constraints of 22 minutes and 42 minutes or 44 are gone.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso, the first season was like 30 minutes each. It's gotten into 42 minutes or 37 minutes an episode.
Yeah.
So they just go whenever because they don't care.
Yeah.
Do you remember the show Pan Am?
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I think I watched like one episode, but I did watch what was the show with Kaylee Cuoco that was last year on, was it HBO Max, where she's a flight attendant. I think it was called The Flight Attendant.
I didn't see that. Ooh, I have to know
Oh, you should watch it. It's actually really good.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a inkling to get your license or to take to fly a plane?
I would love to do that. It's just a time factor, and
God, you gotta have so many hours before they
and financial too. Yeah,
Yes.
It's not inexpensive.
Well, I used to date a pilot, and they used to have 2,500 hours, but now all you have to have is 250. So
Really?
yeah, they lowered it considerably.
Wow.
Yeah, unless you want me to be in the plane,
Interesting.
then you better have 2,500.
Can I check your credentials, please?
And I said, yeah, well, when she becomes a commercial pilot, I'm not getting in a plane with anybody who just, hey, want to go for my first solo run? No, I don't.
I think it's just really, even taking off isn't as, but, landing.
Yeah, taking off. See,
That's key.
A lot of planes crash on takeoff, too.
Yes, they do. No, that's true. And, the thing that you have watched at this aerospace is, older planes and
Yeah. These guys spend a lot of money building these planes and then painting them and making them, every detail, specific detail, accurate to the history. Those are pilots that know how to fly the plane, because you wouldn't want to crash one of those planes.
No.
Because that'd be super expensive.
yes.
Corey, those planes are a couple $1,000s by the time they're done.
Oh, yeah, no, you can spend $10,000 on some of these planes.
I used to go to the hobby shop all the time. The engines alone could run you $600-700 a piece, and those are the small ones, the big ones. And now they literally have jet engines
Yes.
for these RC controlled planes.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so, yeah.
How long did it take you to write the book?
It's about a year. Doing other projects at the same time, but yeah, roughly about a year.
Let me ask you this, because I guess I consider myself a writer. I've written movies.
A book about
and
Tourette's, and I wrote a script about
Screenplay.
Tourette's,
Yes.
right?
Oh, you did his homework. Oh, yes. And I also wrote music and songs and
Right.
stuff. And, it's always subject to one's own interpretation.
Sure.
Right? Because
Yeah.
I actually gave my screenplay, it's been out there for a while, and I kind of laid it down, but Tony Scott's read it, and he actually called me personally and said, I love it. That's my name drop button.
You don't have to explain it. People know what it is.
I don't know. But he said, at the time, but I really think you should change the ending.
Oh.
And I was like, part of me was like, I'm not changing the ending. And the other part was like, Tony Scott actually read my script.
That's
and
amazing.
If he says change the ending, you change the ending. But when you are that close to something that you've written.
It's tough. It's your baby.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's.
Did you ever watch the movie The Player with Tim
Robbins.
Tim
Tim
Robbins? Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy's like, no lead actors, no main actors, and a horrible ending. And by the time they made the film, it was every lead actor and a real cheesy ending. Yeah. What happened? Well, they gave us a lot of money.
Well, I was listening to, one of your podcasts, and you said, when you wrote Head of the Class, that, you give them so much, and then invariably it's going to change, right?
Yeah.
Just once the studio execs get a hold of it, and this person has their, 2 cents, and then that 2 cents, it's like a recipe. You even referred to it like a recipe.
Yeah.
It's like
A
I can
blueprint,
give you
yeah.
my recipe, but you might want to add a little bit of honey, or you might want to
That's
add
right.
a little bit of, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's a blueprint. And, obviously with a book, it's very different because it's pretty much just you and an editor. And with a screenplay, as you know, there's all kinds of people that have to come together to produce a movie.
Yes.
Actors, crew. Obviously, the director is a huge influential force over the story. So, yeah, it's very different, and you have to sort of learn to let go of stuff.
Of your vision, right? It's
Yeah, you try to maintain your overall vision, but when it comes to specific scenes or whatever, it's
There was a screenplay that circulated around town years ago, and it was called The Peppermint Lounge. And it was arguably one of the greatest screenplays of all time.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
Who wrote it?
I can't even remember.
Oh.
I read it years ago. It circulated. I was on Paramount Lot.
What's it about?
This place called the Peppermint Lounge.
Okay.
And it was so good. And by the time it had circulated, and then this person gave their, 2 cents, and that person did, and then this person got hold of it, it became an entirely different screenplay, and it never got made.
Really?
No. And I think back to that all the time, because I'm like, if they had just made it in its original content and form, it would have been a #1 movie.
Well, back to your food analogy, too many chefs spoil the soup, right? Too many writers spoil the script.
Yes.
You can't give a contract to an attorney without him making 20 changes because he feels like he has to put his own mark on it.
Right.
Hey, if I'm getting paid, and I can't tell you how many times people give me a contract. Go, yeah, it's fine, sign it. You don't make any changes? No, it's fine the way it is. I don't need to put my comments on it. Yeah, just as long as you're protected, you're fine. But scripts, everybody wants to put their little mark on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
when you look back at Valley Flowers and read through it, or do you, are there things that you go, oh, wait a minute, I think it's pretty perfect the way it is, but I do. It's such a great read and such a great story,
you.
and it's really well crafted.
It's really kind. I think there's more stories like you were saying. I mean, your TV show idea, you could definitely do different stories, and I even thought about it as, well, what if I were to write a sequel to it? Because right now, when you write books, just like with movies or TV, you can actually write a series and make a little bit more money, because obviously if you get a fan following for this book or whatever, they go, okay, well, I want to read more about it. So then you have book 2, 3, 4, and you kind of build in a fan base. So I had thought a little bit about, what other types of stories could I do? Maybe we could do Jay going off to college, or the Air Force Academy, and Cassie, maybe the two of them at the Air Force Academy. There could be other stuff to do.
Oh, yeah. They have a cute relationship. It's really good. You should read it, Bob. It's really good. Do you like to read, Bob?
Not so much. I'm a big picture guy. I'll watch it. No, I read all the time.
Did you say I'm a big picture guy?
Yeah, big pictures. Like movie pictures.
Oh, I see. I see. I'm not. I'm Netflix. I would like to see this on Netflix. I literally would. I would love to see this on Netflix. I think it's definitely cast, driven. And I haven't read the script. I'd love to read the screenplay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy to send it to you.
I'd really love to read that. Okay, so you're married and you have a child.
12-year-old, yeah.
And did he read this?
Not yet.
He hasn't read it yet.
Not yet. I mean, what do you think? I mean, there's a few scenes that I'd be, maybe a little above. I've classified this book as what they call high YA, meaning like upper level young adult genre.
The response is, here, kid, read this. Don't tell your mother.
Did your wife read it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she read it.
Okay, so our loved ones are our most critical, right? They're always like, well, why did you? Does that character have anything to do with me? And why did you know what I mean? Did you, what were her notes?
Well, the funny thing is she read an early draft of it. And I'm a screenwriter, that's where I've done most of my writing. And so the first draft was sort of very cinematic, very screenplay-ish, meaning not a lot of description. And she was like, I don't know, she didn't quite get the story. You probably would, because you read screenplays on a regular basis.
Right.
So that was a good note for me, and I incorporated that, and I worked with an editor to really flesh more out, because as a screenwriter, you are trained, less dialogue is more.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that way you give the actors the chance to,
yes,
give a little look. In some cases, an actor can give one look, which erases the need for 3 lines of dialogue.
Right.
So I had to sort of lock myself from that mode of minimal dialogue and minimal description, and so that's what I did for this. So anyway, she didn't read, after that first, I gave the first 3 chapters, and she didn't read it until it was actually published. And then she read it, she's like, oh my God, that's really good. I had no... So
I love that. And so you sent this to how many publishers?
I sent it to some book agents. I actually didn't send it directly to publishers, because typically, like in show business, you're supposed to go through an agent to a publisher. You can submit blindly, but you usually end up in a stack. I submitted to 3 or 4 book agents, and
that's pretty. That means that's pretty good. I don't know if you know the story behind, who's the woman that wrote The Help? What's her name?
Was in the hospital giving birth, and
yes, I've told the story before. So that means that's what that means.
Many times.
Well, it's a good story. I told it once.
I haven't heard it.
You know the movie The Help.
Yeah, of course.
Such a great movie.
Yeah.
She had this love affair with the book, and she was very close to the book, and there was a lot of it was her life. And I'm so sorry I'm spacing on her name. I apologize. Yes, please look it up because I want to give her props. But she was writing this. She'd take off for weekends, and her friends would be like, tell me her name. And her husband would be like, oh, she's, having a love affair with this book, basically.
Right.
Anyway, she is giving birth. And
Geister?
And
Or Catherine Socket?
the doctor, yes. The doctor says to her, ma'am, you're having a baby. And you're going to have to put the computer down. It's time to have this baby.
That's a great writer story.
Right?
Yeah.
And so she finishes the book, and
that's when the actor said, and I want to walk over to the other side of the room.
Yeah. And she finishes the book, and she submits it to 5 publishing houses, 10 publishing houses, 20, 30, 40, 50. I think it was either like the 51st or the 61st. I'm not sure exactly the number, but nonetheless, it's a lot.
Right.
And they finally said, we'll take it. And that is a true story of never giving up.
True. I know. Absolutely. It's all about persistence.
It's about persistence.
Full disclosure, though,
Yes.
I didn't hear from most of those agents. I had heard from one and got rejected. And because I had sort of already gone through it with the screenplay, I really just wanted to get to the book to the readers. And so I actually self-published the book. And that's really something it's a whole brand new world that this never existed before, and it's really cool. There's a lot of opportunities for writers to get their books distributed without going through a major publisher.
And you also probably, I would imagine, you get to maintain your own control over what
True.
happens.
Yeah, I mean, I did have an editor, but I hired him to work with me.
And so Valley Fliers in the novel form, you can find it on
Amazon.
On Amazon.
And soon to be coming to Barnes & Noble and the other outlets. I'm working on that. For now, it's strictly on Amazon.
On Amazon, okay. So let's see. I'm not a technical person.
Okay.
I'm not Bob knows that. I'm not.
You know the half of it.
Well, I could barely fly a kite when I was young. So I'm reading this book and I'm going, yeah, no, I would be crashing this things, everywhere. It would just be an absolute colossal nightmare. But this place actually exists.
Oh
that
yeah, you
about.
can go there. It's a fun afternoon.
Do you see many collisions with the?
I've seen quite a few, yeah. Especially when people are just learning, and so
crashes or mid-air collisions.
Well, crashes, not
Yeah.
mid-air collisions so much, yeah. But yeah, they make trainer planes that are made out of styrofoam,
Yes.
so that you don't destroy your plane.
And have you brought your son there?
I have, yeah. He
Does he
likes
love it?
Yeah.
Oh my! You're just watching his little face light up.
Yeah, and for a while we did have a drone until it got that we would fly, and then it got stuck in a tree, and he sort of lost interest after that.
What is your most favorite thing that you've ever written?
Oh wow, that's a good question. My favorite thing I've ever written.
Also personal. It's hard when you spend that much time creating something, right?
It is.
But which one stands out the most to you?
Wow, I would have to say this story.
This story, yeah.
I mean, this is the product of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, I suppose. And so yeah, I would say this is definitely at the top of the list. I have a few other screenplays that I've written that are near and dear to my heart.
Tell us about them. Can you?
Yeah, sure. One of them is it's called How to Marry a .com Billionaire, and it's sort of more of a.
That's another good.
Step 1: find a .com billionaire.
That is exactly, but that is a great series too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this was written as a movie a few years back now. But
is it like a satire?
yeah, it's a little bit like My Fair Lady,
Oh.
but in the Silicon Valley. That's sort of the short pitch of it. And
What
so
inspired
it's a
you to
woman
write
that,
that?
comes from New York high society. She's a very wealthy heiress, and she comes to the Silicon Valley, and this is a world that is very new to her and like very strange. But what happens is her father loses her fortune. She's like, oh, I'll just go marry, one of these billionaires. So she gets to the valley, and it's, not.
Never mind love. Like, no, sorry, I gotta love you.
Right.
I don't care how much money you have.
You can marry more money in 5 minutes than you can make in a lifetime.
Well, that's part of her
It's such
equation.
a great idea, though.
Yeah, and so it's just sort of about some of that culture shock
Yeah.
that she runs into.
And does she find herself?
She does. Ultimately, he's a guy that is an entrepreneur but has no money, but he's trying to get his company started and is going out and pitching, and
She falls in love.
Correct.
I love that story.
Yeah.
This is a great story.
But they both are broke.
Doesn't matter. That's the story. That's love is, in the end of the day, it's about love. It's not about what you have or what you can get. It's really, truly about love.
Never watch Back to School. And he says, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Tell that to the bank.
I didn't see that episode, Bob.
Yeah. Back to
Rodney
School was a movie,
Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, no,
Where are you
I
gonna build
don't
this
remember
thing?
that
How are you gonna pay
movie.
this guy? It doesn't
before
matter.
her
He goes,
time.
Yeah, go tell the bank it doesn't matter.
Do you like comedy?
I do. I like fun character comedies.
Yeah.
Comedy that comes from character and situations.
Did you see The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
I have not watched that yet.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
You will
okay.
love it.
You're not
is
the first person that's
Phenomenal.
told me
I
that.
just have a feeling that you'll love the not only the writing but the delivery. She's a genius. This girl who plays her. They're just phenomenal.
Yeah. The guy
I mean,
from Monk, the girl from 2.5 Men. Yeah, it's great actors.
it's hands down. Just you'll love it.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci in that too?
No,
Okay.
no, but I love Stanley
They're
Tucci.
all known people. Even Not Brandon Fraser, the guy who played Chuck, was in it for a while.
Yeah.
All well-known actors.
Okay. I have to. That's in my queue.
But it's also very cultural.
Oh, I
Yes.
love that.
50s, right?
Very
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
they go to the Jewish camps in the 50s and how that subculture. Then you go to the undergrad with Lenny Bruce, who's just starting to be big then.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
It's all about how comedy was. He was getting arrested every other show, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, you love Stanley Tucci though.
I do.
Did you see the movie Living in Oblivion?
Is that about the making of that movie?
Yes. Oh my gosh, the one other person on the planet that saw it. I love it.
I'm sure the director and the editor.
I know, no, it was such a great movie though. No.
Yeah.
So if you could have your star cast for this screenplay, we're going back to Valley Fliers. Who would that be? Have you thought about it?
Well, I thought a little about it. I've always thought because John Travolta is like a big aviation guy, I thought he would be good for the Kent
Right.
role.
Yes. That's a powerful, powerful role.
Yeah.
And very well written, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As far as Jay goes, I hadn't really, there's a lot of actors that could probably play that role. I hadn't really thought too carefully about it. The Travolta was sort of the main one I thought would be good for the guy that runs the airfield.
So when you shopped the screenplay around town, what was some of the feedback that they gave to you?
The feedback was, it's a good story. Not sure of the market for it.
That's like once again subject to
Very
that
subjective, right?
one person's, because like you and I could go see the same movie. I might absolutely love it, and you might go, it really didn't do much for me. It depends on where you are in your life in the moment.
True.
It's all subject to one's own interpretation. And so when you give your screenplay out to someone, it's good, but it's also you not I want to say run the risk, but you, for the lack of a better term, run the risk of getting feedback that
isn't really helpful.
it's unhelpful, but it changes the trajectory of it in a sense. And there's always a time and a place. I think Forrest Gump circulated for like 10 years before that thing got off the ground.
The original Star Wars script was rejected pretty much everywhere. So
Rocky, they said we'll do it, but you can't be Rocky.
yeah,
Imagine if he had said okay.
right.
a total different thing,
There
right?
would never have been a Rocky 2.
Right. So it's really just sticking to your.
Yeah, you have to stick to it. I mean, this industry is it's all about persistence, and a lot of people drop out, and that means there's less. The people that stay in, I think, are the people that are ultimately successful.
When you were a kid, would you write elaborate stories, or would you think of them, or?
I would, yeah. I mean, I wrote some short stories in high school, and in fact was encouraged by my English teacher. She was like, you really are a writer. You should really keep this up.
Really?
That was hugely influential.
I bet. Because how old were you then?
I don't know, 13 or 14.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was very encouraging. Then I went to college, and then I had the opportunity to, I had continued writing, and I was part of a creative writing short story workshop with a guy named Brian Moore, who's an Irish novelist. He had a movie come out called Black Robe. I don't know if you've seen it. It's actually a good movie. It's about a missionary that goes into the outback in Canada to convert the natives. I forgot who stars in it, but it's a really good movie.
What is it on?
You just have to. It's a movie. It's all be on Amazon.
Black Robe. Okay.
Black Robe. But anyway, so I had the opportunity to work with him, and he was very encouraging. So yeah.
So you're originally from here?
I actually was born in upstate New York, and grew up in Albany, the capital there.
And then you came to Los Angeles to pursue.
My father moved our family out here when I was going to junior high.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you're a
'cause
native.
I guess
LA-an.
naturalized. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Did you meet your wife out here?
I did. Yeah, in Pasadena. Yeah.
Do you want to share that story? Everyone knows that I'm a sucker for these stories.
We were in a swing ballroom dance class.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love
The
that.
Pasadena Ballroom Dance Association.
No way.
Yeah. And so in the class, you rotate through dance partners.
Yes.
And so that's where we met.
And so you rotated, and that you were like, "I'm done. No one else is rotating in. I've taken over."
Right. Yeah. Sorta. Yeah.
Well, I actually was a red hot. I know it was. My mom made my brother and I take square dancing.
Oh wow.
Thank goodness we didn't have phones back then, because honestly, the outfit alone would give Bob way too much to talk about.
To tease you.
No, it was square dancing, and you switch partners, and I guess you danced in a square. I don't remember, but I had this little name tag, and it said Red Hots on it, and I don't know.
Square dancing is tough because you don't know what to do until the guy tells you what to do.
Well,
Yeah.
and
do-si-do
and
you
the
gotta
worst
know every move.
part was I was obviously dyslexic.
Oh.
And so when they're
Slide to your
telling
right,
it to
you
you, and nobody knew back then that I was dyslexic, I just thought I was stupid
Right.
because I couldn't,
Left and right
You
were-
hear things differently.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. A lot of writers are dyslexic.
That's true.
They are. A lot of actors are dyslexic,
That's
From right to
true.
left.
oddly enough. And so, yeah, wow. So I love that story. See, you learn about people, and that's such a great story. Did
By the
you
way-
know immediately when you
I knew that she was the prettiest girl in the room. I knew that.
That's so beautiful.
My wife and I took dancing, swing dancing, the other one, and when they got to that point of switching, everybody lined up to dance with my wife, and I'm like, here we go. And then I'm like sitting out with all these other girls. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
But there was a line, 10 deep to dance with her.
I bet.
I know, you could say.
You got the girl too.
Oh, yeah. Well, but we came together. So
Oh, yeah,
all
that's a problem.
Yeah. So all the guys were like, all right, when do we switch? I'm like,
That's cute.
But social dancing is kind of cool because it gives the opportunity to meet people that nowadays it's obviously very different,
Yeah.
But that just community atmosphere, and you have live music, really cool jazz music,
See, I am convinced that I was born in the wrong era.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just really feel like I was supposed to be in the 50s or
Do
in
you
that.
like big band music?
Yeah, I love
Duke
big
Ellington
band.
and all that type.
Yes. And I was supposed to be in Frank Sinatra era, and
Yeah.
it's weird feeling. I don't know why, but it happens.
I get it. I totally get it. I
know?
feel the same way sometimes.
So when you were younger, did you like to do the swing dancing, or did you just you just took it up one day?
Took it up, yeah. I had some friends that had. This was, in the late 1990s. You probably remember the what was the movie with Vince Vaughn?
Swingers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was classic. Oh yeah, I know those guys. Those guys are hilarious.
those guys? Yeah.
Yes,
Vince
they used to
Vaughn.
go to Sunset Social Club
Right.
and Viper Room.
Right,
and They're
yeah.
hilarious, and they wrote this thing, and it actually was just art imitating life, really, for
Okay.
them,
Uh-huh.
but it became this kind of cult classic.
Yeah. And that really popularized this, this was like swing dancing was really popular for a few years there. So at that time I had some friends, hey, we should all go. And then I was
Little
like,
did you know.
I need to take some lessons.
Wow,
And
and
he took the lessons. He met his wife and hasn't danced since.
that's not true. How long have you been married?
Let's see, it's about 19 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's wonderful,
Yeah.
especially in this town. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
It is. And is she a writer as well?
No, she's not in the industry. She's a scientist. So
She's a scientist. We have a science project for her.
Oh, God.
okay.
So
She's a
that's
biologist.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Did she work for like Rocketdyne or?
Well, you may know of Amgen down the road. She worked there for quite a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So she's like a molecular scientist.
Molecular biology.
Yes. Wow. That's intense.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that is always interesting to me because if you're in this business, you must really love it. It's a
Yeah.
passion.
Right.
Otherwise, you're literally like, it's like taking a rubber band and smacking it on your wrist
Yes.
all day long, right?
Yes. Torturing yourself.
And two people in the industry, it's hard.
Yeah. I agree.
It's really hard. I think actually, Jason Momoa and his wife just split
Lisa
up.
Bonet?
Yeah, and they said it's very difficult to find jobs for both of them, and they're
Yeah.
really struggling because it's I just watched his series called C.
Okay.
You seen it?
No. Is that Amazon or Apple or?
It's on Apple, and it's literally about a virus that attacks the Earth
Oh.
and renders the entire world with only 2 million people, and they're all blind.
I heard about this.
Yes.
That's a series. I thought it was just a
Series.
movie. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a series.
So it's good, huh?
It's good because it's like it's kind of an indirect way of like, biblically it says, there'll be people that'll have eyes to see and ears to hear. And in this series, there's only a few people that can see. And otherwise you're just kind of walking around blind, the earth. And so it's very interesting to see the correlation of what's, someone wrote this, and I don't know, it goes deep. It's pretty deep. It's intense, but I always appreciate different genres because, mine was a romantic comedy, and that was what came kind of natural. But for someone like you, that like if a studio came to you and said, hey, we need you to write an episode about XYZ, you can sit down and do that. That's incredible to me. I would feel under pressure, right?
Yeah. One thing is, if you start to, write like thrillers, it's probably going to be tough for a studio to come to you and say, hey, we've got a romantic comedy. They tend to like to keep writers like in a specific genre.
Right.
It's just because they know that's what you write. And so, but yeah, I could and have. I've sort of lately been focusing on more thrillers like this. Like the movie I told you about, I have written some comedy, romantic comedy, but it seems like the market now is a little bit better for thrillers.
It is like Ozark, The Imposters.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Ozark?
I have.
Yeah. Well, did you see the new season?
No.
Okay, I won't say anything.
Okay.
It's so good.
Okay, because I heard other people were a little disappointed with it.
No, I wasn't. And that can happen. But see, this is what I was talking about. It's
It's very
subject to
subjective.
one's own interpretation, and writing is a very interesting thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, do you have anything that you're working on now outside of this Valley Fliers?
I do. I'm working on a movie script at the moment, and there's a little bit of interest in that, so that may be optioned soon.
Did you ever see the television series Friends?
Yeah, of course.
From beginning to end?
I wrote an episode of Friends. It didn't get produced, but I wrote one.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I get this excited ever? I mean, okay.
No.
I know. So my daughter and I have had a go at life we've had an amazing life, but we just, her dad left, etc. Blah blah blah, and we would watch that show. I had like the DVDs. My friend Frederick Waugh gave me the DVD set. Sit down and watch it from beginning to end over and over and over again, because laughter really truly is the best medicine.
Definitely.
And if you do that with Friends, you will watch how creative the writers are.
Oh, absolutely. But that group of actors, I mean, that lightning doesn't strike twice with a cast like that.
No, it doesn't.
Did you watch their reunion recently?
I did.
Yeah.
I watched the reunion.
That was kind of a tearjerker, huh?
Yes, it was. It really was. And for many reasons that, we can watch and see. But the writing was so good. They just at some point said, you know what? I heard, and I don't know, maybe you probably know more about this, but that they didn't really bring too many people. They brought in Brad Pitt, and because there was such a synergy among the six of them that they didn't want to disrupt the flow. Yeah,
and their timing. I mean, that whole show is comic timing. It's just so spot on.
So, David Boito, what was the episode that you wrote?
As I said, it wasn't produced.
No, but
it was a spec episode.
What was the whole
pitch? God, I got to see if I can remember now.
Because they always had some kind of scheme. It was like the modern day I Love Lucy with 6 characters.
Wow. I'm gonna have to rack my brain on that for a minute. I haven't read it in years.
I had a Ross moment in Bob's bathroom, but one of our 2 episods ago.
You'll know what she's talking about when she says it.
And it's one of the funniest episodes of Friends ever.
Okay.
And he basically he goes to his date's house with leather pants on.
Okay.
And he goes into the bathroom and he goes to pull his pants back up and he can't get them up. You remember. So he calls Joey, and Joey's like, is there any lotion? And so he's like, oh, yeah, lotion. And he gets the lotion, puts the lotion on, and he's like, they're sticking to my pants. And then Joey's like, well, do you have any baby powder? So he squirts baby powder over the whole thing.
Right.
And then he's like, it's made of paste, man. And he couldn't get, and anyway, she's like, what's taking so long? She opens up the door, and he's standing there with baby powder paste all over himself and his leather pants, and then she's just like, oh my gosh. But that to me is something that you would read.
Yeah.
But the actor has to make it his own.
Absolutely.
Right? And they did.
Yeah.
It did. They just let him roll. I actually went to the taping of the one with Julia Roberts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I got to watch them, How did you even get summoned to write an episode for Friends?
Well, like I say, it's what's called a spec episode. So if you're a writer, you want to, write for television, you have to constantly be churning out episodes of existing series.
Right.
So that's what I did. It's like, well, I want to have a new sample of my television work. And so, I wrote a spec script for that show. I'd also... I wrote a Seinfeld episode. Again, it's totally spec, never produced, but I submitted it. And, I wrote Everybody Loves Raymond, Home Improvement. And this was all to show people, to samples of my work. I don't remember the Friends plot off the top of my head, but if you really are seriously interested, I'm happy to send it to you.
Yeah, I am. I think it's one of my favorite shows. I mean, it brought so much joy at a time that could have otherwise been so sad, but it just brought so much joy,
Yeah, I totally get that.
It's so great when a writer can do that.
Yeah.
And the actors,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. Again, I mean, there's a few shows that are like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. I didn't get to watch too much of or Seinfeld. Yes, I watched just a few, but I ran into
Netflix now.
Yeah, it is, and I ran into Kramer
Oh, did you?
on the street
Michael
in
Richards.
Palisades, and nicest guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of expected him to be like, "Hey," but he just was really sweet and down to earth, and
That's great.
yeah. So
Yeah, that episode I do remember. It was, I think it was the Jason Alexander character, George, decides he wants this woman to date him, and she's really superstitious and believes all of the fortunes that she gets on fortune cookies. So he starts like, okay, well, I'm going to sort of control her mind. I'm going to start putting my own fortune in her cookies.
That's funny. That's actually funny.
Yeah.
That's cute. That's creative.
Yeah.
That show had a lot of good, like, remember when, like, the one with the hands, the man hands.
Oh, yeah. The hand model.
Yeah.
Who's walking around with the oven mitts.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I'm just so impressed with you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
First of all, writing a script is very difficult. And to write all those spec scripts at the hopes of, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
It's a lot, and brain power
Yeah.
to create, right? That's amazing.
Definitely.
How does it even work now, though? I guess this is what's so interesting about the business and how it's changed so much, because before you'd have an agent and then they would take your spec script and they would give it to the studio or the producer or the director, etc.
Right.
But does that even work that way with regards to, let's just say like for an episode of Ozark, do they already have the writers established? And
Yeah, typically they have the exec producer or the showrunner, and that person hires the writing staff. And it's typically people they worked with before, or it may be people that they hire off the basis of a spec script.
So it's probably really just the best to do this, like write your own script.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. Is
Yes.
definitely you're as good as your last writing sample.
Right.
So. But those shows are, they're written typically in a room, like this, with the writer sitting around a table, coming up with stories, and then the exec producer, the person that created the show, says, okay, well, I want you to write this one and go off and come back in 2 weeks with a draft, and then they all get together and they read it, give them notes, and that's kind of how it works.
A Hollywood pitch fest. Have you ever been to one of those?
I've been to one of those. Yeah.
And literally, it's like speed pitching,
Yes.
where there's execs. I sat behind a table.
Oh,
once
so you took
and
some pitches?
I took some pitches, and I was blown away. I wanted to make everyone. It's the moment that I wish I was a billionaire, because I just wanted to like write people checks to make their
Right.
product. I did. Like they're
I wish you
hard,
could.
and there's so much talent.
Cory can't say no.
It's just heartbreaking because, they pay this money to come and pitch their projects, and they're really good pitches and projects, and there's so many talented people out there that don't necessarily ever get a break. And it's, you want to see them succeed,
Oh, absolutely. I've always looked at those types of events as like just an excuse to get your chops up for pitching, to practice.
Yeah.
So that once you do get into a room where, something could really be likely to happen, that you're really good,
And people think it's really easy. But once you get in that room, your pitch has to be fleshed out, beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah,
And
they just get on their phone or whatever.
someone comes in, they get a phone call. It's
Yep.
like La La Land.
You don't have long to capture them.
You don't have long.
It's an art form. Pitching it is in and of itself. And actually, the funny thing is that actors are really good at that.
Yes.
So if you can get an actor involved in your pitch, you're probably better off.
Yes, keeping their attention, those execs, because they're
Yeah.
really just picking up the phone saying, "Hey, I know." There's a whole, isn't it called Morning Show?
Yeah.
the whole inside.
Yeah.
Well, David, this is such a great book. I have a few more questions, but I can't say enough about it. It's such a great read, and it's fun, and it was exciting, and it kept me very entertained while I wasn't feeling well. It really, really did. I'll
nice
never forget it.
Not as
And
good as Friends, but
no, but it is. It's a different genre, and it's different. But like I said, out of every character in here, Jay, I got to tell you, you just
I'm
read
glad
it alone.
that he resonates with you.
He does resonate with me because he is very strong in his convictions, and sometimes that's what it takes, right, to change the world.
Absolutely.
And
You really got him as a character. So
Yeah,
I'm very gratified to hear that.
Unwavering, and I loved him. I loved all of them. Every character. Dari. Yeah.
He's funny with the postal jeep.
Yeah. Super funny. I loved it. I look forward to reading the screenplay. If you could describe yourself in 3 words for me.
Wow. Okay.
3 words that describe you.
Let's see. Persistent. Caring. And interested. How about that?
I love it. Those are great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
This
is like the actor studio thing, right?
I know. We're going to do a word association.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say a word, and you're going to give me the first word that pops into your mind as fast as you can. So television.
Don't watch too much.
That's a good advice. Except for the David Boito series called Valley Fliers coming out.
That's right.
Airplane.
Flying high.
Editing.
Important.
Yes, very. I have a great editor, by the way.
Oh, do you? That's good.
Sun.
I wonder if she meant me or Cade.
You'll never know.
Sun. Wow. Center of my world.
Oh, I love that. Isn't that the truth, right? Love of my life, right?
Yeah.
Publishing.
Publishing is
Mine. How about that?
Yeah, a means to get out your message. How about that?
Writing.
An art form that is very near and dear to me.
Very cathartic too,
Yes.
Movie. Last one.
Movie. Best form of entertainment.
Isn't it amazing how just a single movie can change your life?
Absolutely.
It's really, and it's also like music. I can listen to Van Halen song and I'll see myself in a spot, years ago, or it's the same thing
in time, right?
with a movie.
Absolutely, like the first time you saw your favorite film.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Who are some of your influences, your writing influences?
In terms of novels, I'm a big fan of Lee Child. As far as thrillers goes, he wrote the Jack Reacher series.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy named Kenneth Oppel. It was sort of my editor recommended I start reading, and he was a big, good influence to me as far as novels go. Screenwriting, obviously, somebody like Robert Towne. Chinatown's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. What is, aside from Chinatown, what is your favorite?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
There's so many good
There's
ones.
so many. It's just
know.
hard to pick one out. But
I used to go to the Fairfax Silent Movie Theater
yeah.
and watch. They had a pianist there,
Yeah.
a real live pianist there that would go along with the movie. And I'd watch some of those.
Yeah. That brings to mind Sunset Boulevard, Billy Wilder film.
Oh,
I
my
mean, like,
gosh.
one of the best.
One of the best.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And it's about a writer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
writer that falls into some bad situations. But
Yeah. Some of the old movies are the best, I think. It just, they don't make them like they used to. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming down to the Coriolis Effect
pleasure.
Today. You were such a blessing, and I'm
thank
glad
you.
that Mario, thank you.
Thank you.
I will see you Sunday, Mario. By the way, he has...
By the way, the bruschetta spread that he has, I don't know if you've tried that.
No.
Amazing.
Really?
Tell him to give you a jar of the bruschetta.
Okay, I'm gonna try just about everything else. The truffle pasta is amazing. The polenta is good.
Oh, yeah.
He's got great cheeses, and everything's authentic. It's Italian and
It comes from
imported.
Italy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'll see the bottle, the olive oil bottle. It's
yeah. It's like a wine
rich
bottle. Yeah.
and yummy, and so. Yes, thank you, Mario. This show is dedicated to you today, right?
To Mario Ligori, for sure.
Mario Ligori. So thank you so much, David Boito, for coming
Thank
today.
you.
We appreciate your time, and your storytelling is just remarkable. And we will continue to lift up your screenplay and hope that we get to see that as a series.
Bless you. I appreciate it.
Yes. And if Kent ever decides to become a woman, I'll play that part.
Hey, that's doable.
You never know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're out. The Coriolis Effect is produced by JS Productions. Producers Cory Oliver and Bob Victor. Host Cory Oliver. And editors Bob Victor and Cade Bonsall.
Hi, guys. I'm Cory Oliver, and thank you for watching The Coriolis Effect. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode. Here are some more episodes you might enjoy. Hit the subscribe button below, and have a great